Another day in the NBA here, and even though it's only a 4-game slate, the work begins as it always does here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to dig in and compare my projections to one of the industry leaders out there, our friends over at Stokastic. We'll see who the top plays are, who the best value plays are. We'll also go game by game, check out the ownership along the way, see what that looks like. I feel like my audio is that going. We'll go game by game, check out the ownership, check where the leverage is along the way. We'll hop over to Stokastic, run a sim. I'll do a hand build. And by this video, guys, you will know all the industry's must plays for today's January 8th NBA slate. Let's get into it here. Hope you guys are having a good week. I know today, no football. People are accustomed to getting that Thursday night football in their lives. But no, we are NBA only here on Mondays and Thursdays. Actually, I guess next Monday will be NFL again. But Thursdays is now solely the realm of the NBA and perhaps NHL if you're white. Let's get into it here, starting with Anthony Davis, our man in the thumbnail. You can see my skeptical face here in that thumbnail because Anthony Davis going to be owned at 67% today, according to Stokastic. Of course, the reason being he's got a matchup with Utah, massive total in the spot for Dallas, 123.5 implied points. Anthony Davis at 9,300 has produced pretty well on the year, 1.36 fantasy points a minute. So definitely not in that Giannis, that Luka Doncic, that Jokic tier of guys, but about a close second to that. I mean, I'd put him behind a Jalen Johnson tier as well. But frankly, the price reflects that at 9,300 is in the same spot too. But for Anthony Davis, 67% ownership is a lot. I am right now only getting 25%. This slate is another one, and I know I say this every NBA video, but I have to say it because I know there's a lot of new viewers every day, and sometimes you guys, I think, just aren't all the way there yet with how NBA works, especially if you're newer to the sport. But everything we talk about here at 2 p.m., especially, things that my good friend Josh Engelman talks about on Stokastic Strategy Show, and I know it's been a pain point for some of his viewers on there because he'll go like, well, this game, we can't even talk about it because there's a lot of Q tags and all that. But really today, like, you got Q tags for Darius Garland, you got a Q tag for Anthony Edwards again. Those guys might play, but they are midday downgrades. So normally your assumption is that, that is going to be a thing where they might be out. But for Anthony Davis at this point, like, I think things can move around a little bit. I don't think anything is going to break him being major chalk. But if things get more appealing for other guys, I could definitely see myself, holding steady at this 25%. As it is right now in a 4-game slate, the fact he's playing a Utah team that's going to be without use of Nurkic again, it looks like, or, at least the assumption is going to be that's going to be the case. Their injury report, I believe, is not out as before the show. But for Anthony Davis, it's a lot of ownership, man, for a guy that we know and the field knows. You can leave at halftime. Like, it's happened more than enough times for sure. I think for Anthony Davis here, the big thing that stands out to me is I do have him 4 fantasy points lower than Stokastic. And the reason usually for that being is that he's not performed as well this year as he has in previous years. And sites like Stokastic use that longer-term sample, sometimes rolling the entire player's career, and then more likely rolling the last couple seasons of performance. Anthony Davis has been good, but he hasn't been quite as good as old Anthony Davis. So that's sort of the issue I would have here with playing him as much as the field's going to. But on the slate, going against Utah, you can't really complain about it. Highest total on the slate as well as that game with Dallas and Utah. And maybe the way you get unique is playing some more Utah pieces on the other side, though Lowry, Markkanen, Keontae George, assuming they do play, those guys are also going to be really well projected and decently owned. Donovan Mitchell, 30% ownership for me right now, Fields at 9. So if Darius Garland is out, this play will look a lot better for sure. If Darius Garland is in, I still have Donovan Mitchell at about 44.4 fantasy points, which is 3 fantasy points lower than Anthony Davis. But this is sort of the way I think you want to play NBA DFS generally. You have a player here in AD who projects for a certain amount. Donovan Mitchell, not that far off in my data. Lowry, Markkanen, not that far off. Anthony Edwards, a little bit further behind than you'd probably want to see, but not that far off. Generally, my thought would be you want to just flatten out that ownership a little bit more instead of just going whole hog on Anthony Davis because the field thinks that, oh, he projects so well, I have to get to him. Stokastic has him as the only player above 50 fantasy points today. You just get a little bit less of him and get guys with similar range of outcomes like Mitchell, like Anthony Edwards. That's basically all you have in the slate. But you could also go down to that 8K range, include Markkanen, include Keontae George, include Pascal Siakam, include Vucevic, given the fact there's still no big men besides him for Chicago at this point. But for Anthony Davis, like, you get why he's so chalky. But Donovan Mitchell, I think at 30%, like, I'm cool getting a little bit more of him, a little bit more of Lowry Markkanen, definitely a lot more of Keontae George. But these guys are your pivots to Anthony Davis, and in particular at the price point, like Donovan Mitchell, directly a pivot to Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, directly a pivot. And certainly some lines could play them together, but I'm not sure if we're going to have enough value to get there comfortably. And thank you for that, Parker. Of course, I appreciate Parker as always. Great guy at DFS, in addition to a chatter. Thanks, Spags, with my coffee on the desk. There might be some PK Subban fans. There you go. Is he still even in the NHL? I don't know. But I don't know that he really converted a lot of people to caring about hockey. Hockey, really, out of all the sports right now, I feel like doing the worst. Even the WNBA, like, they're going to probably lose their labor battle because they don't make enough money. But, like they're at least getting ratings. NHL, I feel like I don't hear anything about the NHL at all. And, we're all in our own echo chambers with social media and what we watch and consume and all that. But hockey, I feel like just not the best times right now. Baseball on the uptick too, not hockey. Donovan Mitchell will look better if Garland is out. I think he'll become much chalkier at 9% ownership, though. Would rather just shave off some Anthony Davis ownership. Get there. You guys get the concept. Lauri Markkanen, power forward as well, 8,500. He's been playing well on the year, about 1.2 fantasy points a minute on 62% true shooting. Really a guy that it feels like should have been traded to a contender a while ago. But he still is hanging around there. And at this point for Lauri Markkanen, I'm above the field, 44.1. Stokastic has him at 42.5, so you can see here. The field's only at 4%. I don't think that's possible in a 4-game slate. But right now I'm getting 9x that exposure at 36%. But really the big thing you see in my exposures here, which were not something I managed, it was just Stokastic Sim giving me back, what my projections are saying. Basically, that's how their data works. Any sim generally is going to, give you back what you're putting in. That's just anything in life. Much like calories, you eat what you get the results that you get out of that. For projections, same thing. What you get out is what you put in. But for Lauri Markkanen here, what I'm putting in is getting a lot more leverage on him. Again, it's not a bad total for Utah, 117 implied points. Dallas's defense a little bit better than league average, but for Lauri Markkanen, Keontae George, they just control so much of the offense, especially with Nurkic out. That I think for Lauri Markkanen, assuming that he does play today, and again, Utah's injury report, he could be out, wouldn't shock me. But if he plays, I think getting above the field on him, even if it's not quite 9x, seems like a good move. Keontae George getting 43%, fields at 15. Basically, when Utah's missing a couple guys, as is the expectation today for Nurkic and Ace Bailey continuing to be out, I get these guys more because there really aren't a lot of guys on Utah who do a lot of things. It's kind of the opposite of Trae Young, who got traded to the Wizards, yesterday. Obviously, big deal. Talked about it a little bit on the Discord as well. But I just quickly ran projections yesterday for Washington out of curiosity. Put Trae Young on the Wizards to see how it would look. And like for Washington, you have a team where you have a lot of guys getting up shots, a lot of guys picking up a few rebounds, a lot of guys picking up a few assists, sometimes a lot of assists, per 100. For Trae Young fitting in there, it's like there's nowhere for the stats to really go his way because he's going to either have to like big dick all those guys. We're going to have to get accustomed to a life unlike they've ever had in the NBA, or, he's going to defer more. The projections won't make sense. And his price tag definitely, if it holds with where it is from Atlanta, not likely to make sense at the beginning. For Utah, it's kind of the opposite, where like nobody in Utah really does anything unless Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George are out. Then those guys are all going to do their impression of the Wizards. But the offense flows entirely through Markkanen and George. The usage is there for both these guys. They're both at about 28% usage on the year. Keontae George also a 31% assist rate, also hovering around a 1.2 fantasy points a minute rounded up. So for Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, I think these are your ways today. If you play AD, get a little more unique by playing Markkanen and George. It seems like at both guys, 15% owned for George and under 5% allegedly for Lauri Markkanen. I didn't know you lived in Minnesota. Parker lives in Minnesota, still don't care about the NHL. All right, that's sad to see. Because there's like people actually play hockey there, so that's crazy. But yeah, Canada, probably not super stoked about the NHL right now because you don't want your Americans coming in there. We're now the people that nobody wants anywhere in the world. Anthony Edwards, 17% ownership for the field, 6% in my top 150 right now. He is a Q tag. He's also projected fairly lowly from this year. Another guy, again, underperforming a little bit with where he's been historically, but he does have that massive upside. Like if you're playing the 50-point thing, 50 real life point games or whatever on FanDuel, where you place a bet on the guy's points. I think it's just points, right? You place a bet on that, and then if the guy scores 50 points, you win a share of 1 million. Bonus bets for everybody who bet that guy. Like for Anthony Edwards, that's the kind of format where I think he makes sense. For today in DFS, he makes some amount of sense, but he's 17% owned. So I feel like you're not really getting a discount there compared to Mitchell, compared to Markkanen, especially at a cheaper price tag. But I have Edwards lower than these guys. So I'm a little bit lower on Ant, about 3 fantasy points lower than Stokastic. Again, some notable differences for me today compared to Stokastic data. But that's results in me not getting Anthony Edwards very much. And obviously, if he doesn't play, you will get Julius Randle a lot more at his $8,400 salary. But right now, those guys don't look super playable to me. Pascal Siakam, getting 18% for the field right now. I am getting 15 here. Match versus Charlotte's pretty good. Siakam killed one of my better lineups the other day that felt like had a run for first place, but he only put up about 35 fantasy points. That didn't help. But for Siakam at 8,400, if you do get Nembhard, who was one of those Q-tag downgrades today, if you get him out, I think it's going to look a lot better for Siakam. As it is, no Benedict Mathurin. That does make Siakam look a little bit better. He gets about a 31% usage rate as opposed to the 28.4% he normally gets. Assist rate goes up a little bit. Rebound rate holds steady. But accounting for the matchup today, I would have him for about 1.34 fantasy points per minute. So for Siakam here, another guy at 8,400 where You're talking about AD at 47.4, 47.4 projection for me, 9,300. Pascal Siakam at 41, $8,400 salary. It just sort of seems logical to me with the way my projections are flowing here with nobody above 50, AD not as far ahead as Stokastic has him. I think for Siakam here, like I'd rather get to some more Siakam and get a little bit less AD. So I don't mean to make that the theme of the video. Obviously, it does fit with the thumbnail, and that's what YouTube recommends. You want your YouTube thumbnail to give people an idea of what they're going to get in the video, and then they come in and you deliver on the promise. The promise that I'm delivering on here is that I don't really want to play Anthony Davis 67% of my lineups. But Pascal Siakam, I think in this spot, again, if you get Nembhard out, he's going to look like a lot better play. Right now, about a 5x value, a little bit less than that. But if you get Nembhard out, Siakam gains more minutes. And then I guess you probably get, who would even start? Wouldn't be McConnell because he's going to play limited minutes. Jay Huff is back at center. Not that that matters. Probably Ben Shepherd starts. Shepherd and Furphy might be it. But it will open up a pretty big minutes hole as well because right now Nembhard projected for 33 minutes Stokastic data. So just keep that in mind. But as of right now, again, 2:15 p.m. on the East Coast right now. Siakam looks like a good play. Will look like a much better play if Nembhard's out. Nikola Vucevic. So we have for Chicago today, where are we on their latest injury report? So I'm not sure if Kobe White is hanging the balance still. There were a lot of injuries that came through right before the show. Kobe White not on the injury report at all. So for Vucevic today, the big thing is that you do still have Jalen Smith out. You do still have Zach Collins out. So that means Vucevic's minutes should be around low 30s. I mean, Stokastic recently has had him getting as high as 33. But, low 30s seems like a safe bet. For Vucevic, he has produced better with those guys off the court. He has put up about a 2% increase in usage, 4% increase in assists. So the offense just basically runs through him more because they don't have a true point guard. It would look, again, a lot better if Kobe White were also out. But I think for Vucevic here at 8,200, the price tag has come up a good amount. You are not paying the discounted fare, but I think it's a fair price tag here. Fields a 20% ownership for Vucevic. I'm getting 25. The matchup too for Chicago today, the fact they're going against Miami, technically a slight pace up here. And, I always say this, and it is the thing that kind of matters to me. The fact it's not in Miami, not like Nikola Vucevic is going to necessarily be going out and hitting the club or anything, but it's not in Miami. So you get the benefit of the Miami pace up without having to actually be in Miami and risk the old South Beach flu. But for Nikola Vucevic here, a little bit above the field. Again, it's a different way to spend your money, I think, than playing Anthony Davis blindly and endlessly. LaMelo Ball, minutes limited here, but now down to 7,900. Last game for LaMelo, what did he play? He's a minutes limited longer than it seems like any player in the NBA has ever been minutes limited, including Kawhi. But he played 25 minutes last game. No foul trouble reasons, it looks like. It's weird because his minutes limit was like 30, and his minutes limit seems to be coming down. But LaMelo played 25.1 last game at 15 points, 14 peripherals, minus turnovers. The best plus minus on the team. But LaMelo here, felt like they were saving him for the back-to-back. Maybe. I mean, look, if you give him the same 25 minutes again on the back-to-back, he looks okay. It's hard to expect him to get more. But if I haven't projected, Stokastic, I just take Stokastic's minutes here. Generally, it's just easier for me to take minutes instead of having to build my own rotations all the time. For LaMelo at 24.6 minutes, if he's going to give me a 39.2 projection and I'm going to get him 4x the field here, if that's like his minutes floor, and I do think what he played yesterday is probably about the minutes floor, I don't mind going here. It's weird to play a guy that you don't expect for 30 minutes at a $7,900 salary. But on a 4-game slate, on a day like today, where the matchup's not that bad for Charlotte going against Indiana, team total just shy of a 119 for Charlotte today. It doesn't look too bad. I think for LaMelo here, yeah, that's a lot of ownership. But again, I get why it happens. If you're just not going to pay for AD, you got to pay your money somewhere. And it seems like it's guys like LaMelo, Vucevic, Siakam, the Utah guys, Mitchell. Everybody besides Edwards for me, so he's the one that's going to go nuts. Julius Randle, 8% for the field. I'm getting 7. He's only a 4.5x value for me, so the fact I'm getting him at all kind of speaks to how poorly priced this slate is for a 4-game slate. If we get Ant out, that Julius Randle price tag will look like a dream. With Ant in, though, he just kind of looks like a guy. So Julius Randle, to me, not super exciting. If Anthony Edwards, though, with that Q tag downgrade for injury management, if he does sit today, Randle will be a much chalkier play, but also a much better play. And that's how these plays walk. Good plays become chalk because they are the best plays in the slate. And important to remember that in DFS always. Cooper Flag, 45% of the field with a soft matchup against Utah. It does feel like Cooper Flaggy spot in some of his highest ceiling days. Teams like the Pelicans, a not high-paced team with a shitty defense. Utah, also a not high-paced team with a shitty defense. And that's not, a perfect, analogy always, but it's a good way just to think about stuff generally. But Cooper Flag, 37.6 projection for me. Stokastic has been at 40.7. So really, I'm just low on all the Mavs. Am I high on somebody? No. I just have less projections flowing to Dallas than Stokastic does, I think seems to be my takeaway here. Because everybody on the team, I'm either dead with or slightly under. So it must be the differential, because I don't think Stokastic's projections account for differentials either. I do account for differentials. So if a team gives up less rebounds, less assists, less threes or whatever, I dock the team, relative to league average. I dock the team in their projection for that. So I think that's why, but I'm still getting Cooper Flag in 31% of lineups. Again, I do, just basketball knowledge, knowing ball is always so important here. I do think he's the kind of guy that in this matchup should grade out well. And certainly with Anthony Davis being 67% owned, Cooper Flag is very logical leverage against that. So no with Cooper Flag. I think he's been a little bit of a disappointment in terms of how I viewed him so far this year, but he's rounding out to about 1.03 fantasy points a minute. Still needs to shoot better. He's at 55.6% true shooting, but AD's at 55.3. So you can't really critique him that much in this environment. And Flag, I don't know, not a good three-point shooter right now, only 28% from three. Yeah, that's the issue. He needs to shoot better from three, but he's shooting well from the free throw line, 82% from the free throw line for Cooper Flag. So normally if your free throws are hitting at a certain clip, three-point shooting comes along. So would expect that to hit at some point. And Utah gives up 37% from deep, which is one of the higher marks in the league. Yeah, he definitely go off today. I'm not telling you anything you don't know about Cooper Flag, but we got to say something. Evan Mobley, 8% for the field. I'm getting 6. Not the same situation with Donovan Mitchell back in today. Mobley will not be mega chalk. If Garland comes out, though, Mobley will look a little bit better, as always going to be the case. And real fast, because we haven't hit it yet, let's go to NBA Wowie, see what it would look like for Darius Garland being out. Obviously, we have seen Garland be out this year, so nothing what word am I looking for? Uncharted. That's what I was looking for. But with Garland off the court this year, you got Donovan Mitchell, very safe projection here, 1,600 possessions, so we are well into the safe area where these rates will be stable moving forward. But Donovan Mitchell at 1.4 fantasy points per minute without Garland gains a ton more. Evan Mobley at 1.1. Everybody else on the team under 1 besides Jarrett Allen. So for Donovan Mitchell, he really seems to be the big winner because his rates on the year, 1.35-ish. If he gets to 1.4 today with Garland out, he'll look like a much better play. Mobley, though, would be a better play with Garland out. Jarrett Allen would be by a little bit. Jalen Tyson would be by a little bit. But Evan Mobley right now at an 8K salary, don't see getting to him very much. He's theoretically a pivot to Anthony Davis, but I'd rather play Randall, especially if Edwards is out. I'd rather play Siakam. I'd rather play Marketing. That's how that looks. But Mobley will look better if Garland's out. We're going to sort by value here, guys. And again, show some love to this channel if you can by hitting that like button and subscribing. Big deal for me here. Of course, just one guy showing you my gambling every day across the NBA, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. So please show some love, hit that like button and subscribe because it helps me get seen by more people on YouTube. And that is the only way I can afford to keep doing this. If you guys hit that like button, subscribe, I get more views, get revenue off that. I could also maybe convert some subscriptions on here. That's the name of the game, guys. And it really does mean a lot when you guys hit that like button and subscribe. About 60% of the people that watch the NBA channel right now are not subscribed. And you guys watch every day. So show some love. I know a lot of you guys have left some really kind comments lately, and I do appreciate that too. But make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're hitting the like button and come along for the ride here every day. If nothing else, I'll show you my data, and you can do whatever you want with it. And that's the goal here. Of course, check out Stokastic too. 15% off all their data, all their Sims products as well. A link down below to do that. It's the only deal they have going right now, legit. So please do check it out. That promo code SPLASH, 15% off weekly, monthly, cheap packages, expensive packages. All of it is available to you with that promo code SPLASH. So do check it out. And of course, does support the show because half the money you pay to them comes back to me, and we'll see how their tech issues affect my money. It's definitely not anxiety inducing at all. And of course, join the channel too if you want to be a part of the live chat or get into the Discord, $5 to join. If you want my data updated throughout the night, including the very screens you see here on stream and my exportable projections, join down below on one of the Squirt Squad tiers. But know what you're doing if you join the VIP tier. You got to be an advanced user to use CSVs correctly. And people sometimes don't do that. And I can't teach you Excel. That's the one thing I can't do here. I can teach you basketball to some extent. And even then, I try. I can't teach everybody basketball, but I can give you the data, and much like ETR, much like Stokastic does, and you can do what you want with it. Your top value plays today. So no Josh Giddey still for Chicago. Matas Buzelis, I've talked about a lot here, has been your big rate winner overall. He gains appreciable amounts of usage, gets about 3% usage bump, gets also a little bit of an assist bump, slight rebound bump as well. Basically for Buzelis, because he contributes in every category, and Josh Giddey off the court loses stats in every category. Buzelis ends up looking a bit better. So Buzelis had a $6K salary. I think he's paid off a lot for me in lineups since Giddey went out. Willing to keep being there for now. The price tag seems reasonable enough. And Stokastic projection at 33, not too far off mine at 33.6, but getting a lot more ownership here, probably because I am low on AD. Getting 64% Buzelis, Fields at 30. So a big stand here. My AD ownership getting shaved away to some of those high pay-up option guys, but also probably getting shaved away to more balanced builds where I'm playing guys like Buzelis and a bunch of other 6K guys would be my guess. Brandon Williams, before the show, got upgraded to probable, so it looks like he'll go today playing that point guard role for Dallas that it just seems like they change guys around pretty frequently. But Brandon Williams, $4,700 salary, projected to play 24 minutes by Stokastic. I'm at a 26.4 projection. Stokastic has him at 26.6. Fields expected to own him at 52%, so a lot of ownership going Brandon Williams' way. He will be one of the more popular values just to cram in here. Again, we see it happen all the time. Teams face Washington. You just get like these also-ran second-tier players coming up in lineups. You face Utah, you get second-tier players in lineups. That's the case for Brandon Williams here and Max Christie as well. Both these guys, Williams and Christie, about 48% for me, but Brandon Williams much chalkier for the field. Max Christie at 29%. Brandon Williams at 52%. Aaron Nesmith. Rebounded really well that last game without Mathurin. That was one thing I don't think I mentioned on stream that occurred to me that I should have said. But, for Nesmith, the big thing that he gets, a little bit of a boost in rebounding, a little bit of a boost in usage, and he can create some assists, though Nesmith's game is not anywhere near what Mathurin's is in terms of being a shot creator. But Nesmith paid off well that first spot without Mathurin. Price tag's up a little bit now at 5,700, but I would still have him at about a 30.6 projection. Stokastic is even higher on Nesmith at 31.2, but the field's at 27.4% ownership. I'm still above the field, even with a slightly lower projection, getting him at 42% of my lineups. And it will look better as well if you get Nembhard out, though there is still a bit of a push-pull with how that works because Nesmith, unable to create his shot if you take a shot-creating point guard off, even for, whatever minutes that McConnell's not going to play today. It should make Nesmith theoretically less effective, but it wouldn't affect the projection. He'll only look better if Nembhard's out, basically, because you'll replace Nembhard's minutes with likely a less good producer because it won't just be McConnell taking all those minutes. So for Nesmith, that's sort of the thing here. If you get Nembhard out, I wouldn't go nuts on Nesmith. I wouldn't go nuts on Nesmith no matter what, but if Nembhard's out especially, you just lose a little bit there for not having a guy that's going to create assists at a 33% clip. TJ McConnell should gain a few minutes if you do get Nembhard out. Better shot of him closing or, getting key minutes throughout the game because of that. But because of Nembhard right now being a Q tag, he's in the data set, so McConnell doesn't look fantastic. He has been our best producer, though, like we talked about the last time out with Mathurin. He's putting up, I got the rating here, so I won't make you guys do the NBA Wowie thing again. But McConnell's averaged 1.35 fantasy points a minute with Mathurin off the court this year, and it's getting to a pretty big sample size at this point, about 564 possessions. During that period, he's at a 28% usage rate, a 48% assist rate, so meaningful upticks in both categories, though he has played well generally in this bench role so far this year. McConnell at 4,600, I think that's a nice value play. At half the ownership of Brandon Williams, especially if you get Nembhard out, obviously that'll change the ownership around too. But I like McConnell a good amount again today. Played him like half my lineups the other day, didn't regret it. So for McConnell, 26% ownership for the field right now. I'm getting him in 38. Moussa Diabate, still no Kalkbrenner, still no Plumlee. For Diabate, had him in some of my better lineups yesterday. He didn't really help out a ton, but he is still producing about 1 fantasy point per minute, so that's fine. Playing 29, 30 minutes, that's also fine. For Diabate, 29% ownership, Fields at 41. My projection a little bit lower than Stokastic at 27.6. They're at 29.1. But Diabate, solid player, not a great player, and that is kind of the theme of the slate. Klay Thompson. How far the mighty have fallen, down to a $3,800 salary for him. 16% ownership expected, about a 20-point projection, 20.5 in Stokastic data. I'm getting Klay Thompson above the field as well. 26% of my lineups have him. Fields at 16. On a slate where there's not great value, you have your Dallas guys against Utah, and that is the value people will be taking. Certainly things will change around a little bit if you get Edwards out, if you get Garland out. But even then, you're not really opening up great value in either of those spots, I don't think. I guess a Bones Highland start would open up some value for Minnesota, but you're not really opening up great cheap value there. You're opening up plays that are mid-priced, and they're going to look a lot better at their mid-price, kind of like Mobley and Garland did the other day with Mitchell out. But for Klay Thompson here, decent value at this point. 26% ownership for me. Fields at 16. Not one of my favorite players by any stretch, but he's 3,800. He can get hot from 3 against Utah, and that could be the way they put up a big total. Interesting, no Craig Porter Jr. It's not, because Donovan Mitchell's back in. So the role is gone. What he had the other day, the opportunity is completely evaporated. If Garland is out, it'll look a little bit different. You still have Lonzo there. Do not chase Craig Porter Jr., especially you, Georgia, with what we talked about in the Discord. That is very box score results biased and not rotationally aware. And Craig Porter Jr. is not going to be a good value if you have Mitchell and Garland in today. Lowry marketed into top value for me despite being 8,500. Keontae George, same thing, that same price range. Anthony Davis, a top value, 9,300. That's part of why he's getting into so many lineups. And of course, in Stokastic data with a projection 4 points higher, he looks like an even better value. So that's why they're getting him so much. And Najee Marshall, another Dallas player here, shooting guard, small forward at 5,200, 33% ownership for the field. I'm getting him at 33, a little bit higher version of that. But Najee Marshall, another winner here from Dallas playing Utah. That's basically it. Feels like a game where Gafford, talk about Dallas here, could have 5 putback done since there's no use of Nurkic. I mean, maybe. Is that enough to play him? I don't think so. All right, let's go game by game here, guys. We get one more ask. Hit the like button, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Stokastic, link down below. And join the Discord. Join the channel here. If you want to be in the live chat, giving me your brilliant takes, you can do that for $5 here. And of course, I will be extra kind to you because you're supporting what we're doing here. But it really does mean a lot for smaller creators like me. Even though I am technically one of the higher viewed NBA DFS channels, this is a pretty limited ceiling here. So join the channel, supporting the things you enjoy on YouTube. Really important to the process, whether it's me or other stuff. But, I know a lot of you guys join Stokastic. They don't need the money. No disrespect, join their channel, but join here. I need the money. It's really important to keep doing this. So please do that down below if you can. Indiana, 114 implied points. Charlotte, 118.5 implied points. Indiana, it's like we talked about here. If Nembhard doesn't play today, it's going to look different. If Nembhard plays, though, I'm not super compelled by him. Definitely getting 10%, about half the field's exposure to Nembhard, who's at 22. Pascal Siakam getting 15%. The field's at 18. He'll look better if Nembhard's out. Neesmith, I'm above the field on. McConnell, above the field on. J Huff, I'm low on. Not really sure why. I had him a lot last slate. I think they are maybe docking his minutes a little bit here. Last game versus Indiana, J Huff played 31 minutes. So why do they have Huff? Gotta think they're going to update that. Unless there's another center. No, because Isaiah Jackson's still out. I guess they must think he just ran hot minutes in that last game. But yeah, J Huff. I don't know why you would get 49% J Huff if he's going to play 21 minutes. He's a decent value here. If you give him 24 minutes, he's going to look a lot better. But right now I'm low on J Huff. I don't think that'll hold when everything updates. It seems like a bit of an aberration. But I think these guys right now, Neesmith, McConnell, J Huff, they're not really value plays in the traditional sense. I guess J Huff would be at 4,200. But if you're not playing the Dallas value, Indiana value seems pretty good. They are facing a bad team defensively in Charlotte and a bit of a pace down, but Indiana's Indiana. These guys are okay. Charlotte, 118.5 implied points here. LaMelo Ball, we've talked about already, getting 25% of the field's at 7. Definitely hoping he plays 25 minutes at least that he played yesterday. Miles Bridges, not really getting there at all. He's just been the biggest sufferer, I suppose, of having Miller and Knipple playing better this year, and LaMelo being crazy effective in the amount of time that he's out there. But Miles Bridges is not a guy that pops up at all for me this year, and that's going to continue to be the case today. Brandon Miller, though, getting 21%. The field's at 15. Connor Knipple, I'm a little bit lower on. Fields at 28. I'm getting 7. He certainly can get hot from 3, but he's just not putting up the rebounds and assists as much these days because this team is fully stocked at this point, besides the centers being out with Kalkbrenner and Plumlee. Diabate getting 41%. The field's at 29, so decent stand there. Sexton getting 23%. The field's at 17. Sexton, as Parker pointed out earlier, did close that last game for Charlotte. Did close the second half too, so maybe that portends him getting a few more minutes. But for Colin Sexton at 4,400, that's enough for a reason to get there, I think, for a guy that's producing 1 fantasy work minute. And frankly, Colin Sexton should be, I think he should be on a playoff team. Decent usage, decent assists, shooting well. Then Charlotte absolutely doesn't need him. He's taking minutes away from the Trey Mann tier of guys, KT Simpson tier of guys. Not that those guys are anything special. I think Trey Mann could be okay. But why is Sexton on this team? Miami, 122.5 implied points. Everybody expected to be in here today. That matters. Hawkins got upgraded to probable right before the show. So don't really see a lot for me here when this Miami team is fully stocked. They are at least priced down a little bit for it, but Adebayo has not produced super well on the year, 1.14 fantasy points a minute. Tyler Hero has not produced super well at 1.13. He's just not getting assists this year so far. Norm Powell, 1.2, rounding up fantasy points per minute. Really, it's 1.16, so a little bit better than the other guys, but not that much better. But you can see here, Norm Powell has played better fantasy-wise than Adebayo and Hero this year, which is part of why Adebayo and Hero are not as good. And Khalil Ware, the best producer on the team, 1.23 fantasy points a minute. His minutes are now getting jerked around because having Jovic back in, so it's a mess for Miami. Great total at 122.5. You told me one Heat player made a winning lineup because there's not owned. I think that I would totally believe that. Like, you're playing Chicago here, but the projections are bad. Like, nobody even a 4.7x value here besides Davion Mitchell. Yeah, I don't see it for Miami, but it's a 4-game slate. They can hit. Chicago, 115 implied points. Vucevic getting above the field like we talked about. Trey Jones getting 10%. The field's also at a slightly lower version of 10. Has not been great, has Trey Jones overall, with Kobe White and Giddey out, but, he's getting starter level minutes with Giddey or with a White coming off the bench, most likely. So for Trey Jones, he's a player, I guess. Matas Buzelis is the big stand for me here. My projection, though, only 0.6 higher than Stokastic, but I am getting him at 64% of my lineups as opposed to the Fields, 30% ownership. Kobe White off the bench, priced down for 5,800. Minutes limited, missed yesterday's game for Chicago, presumably to play today. Thought he played 25 last game. Let's hold on. Just going to popcorn machine real fast. I think I have something in my eye and it's not coming out. Kobe White played 25.4 minutes last game. So again, I don't know why Stokastic has him for 22.4 today. Might be something that changes a little bit. If he gets to about 25 minutes, he might come close to playable for me. I imagine he'd be like 28, 29 fantasy points. But right now, only getting 9%. The field's at 14. Kobe White, hard to trust off the bench. Kind of a LaMelo situation, but the poor man's version of it. He can produce well. He's producing 1.04 fantasy points a minute. With Giddey out, I would have him at 1.2 because he does gain some usage, some assist upside from not having Giddey. But Kobe White, not a super exciting play unless he picks up a surprise start. Cleveland, 117.5 implied points. Minnesota, 120 implied points. We've talked about the Mitchell and Garland stuff already, so that's a key thing to keep in mind here. Garland right now looks unplayable to me. If he is out, though, he'll open up these guys a lot more. But Mitchell, I'm currently getting almost 4x the field on. Not normally a stand I have, but my data's not crazy about AD, so I'm cool with getting more Mitchell here. 30% of my lineups right now, field at 9. Evan Mobley, 8% exposure. I'm getting 6. For the field, I'm getting 6. Jared Allen getting 13 for the field, percent ownership. I'm getting 24. These guys are all okay plays. If Garland is out, though, they will become, I think, really priority, like, core player plays for me today. But, it's a tough matchup against Minnesota on paper. The total's not bad, though, with about 237.5 here between these two teams. Minnesota on their side, nothing super playable here, but you'll get tastes of all these guys. Fields at 17% for Anthony Edwards. I'm getting 6. Randall Fields at 8. I'm getting 7. Gobert Fields at 5. I'm getting 7. Naz Reid, 3 for me, 3 for the field. DiVincenzo, I'm low on, getting 3% in the fields at 9. Jade McDaniels, the field's at 9. I'm getting 8. They all just look like nothing plays. This were a larger slate. Don't think Minnesota would be a factor at all. Even on a 4-game slate, they barely seem like a factor. But if Ant is out and they keep, let's say they lose a point or two in that total, 119, 118, the team's going to look a lot better. If you get a Bones Highland start at 3,300, he would be one of the best value plays in the slate, even though he is a not under league average shooter and 0.92 fantasy points a minute, not world beating by any stretch. But we have no real value on the slate. So getting a starter at 3,300 would be pretty meaningful. But for Minnesota right now with Ant in, not a lot. Dallas, going to be a lot here. 123.5 implied points for Dallas, 117 for Utah. Anthony Davis, 25% ownership for me, like we talked about. Fields at 67. Not a deliberate stand by me. That's just what the data gave me. My projection is lower on AD, so I don't mind that. That said, he is still a 5x value on a slate where we don't have a lot of 5x values, so I imagine I'll be like half my lamps with AD when things get to lock. I can't imagine playing more than half, though. Like, I know AD. Like, I know he's been a little bit healthier this year, relatively, but he is also a guy we saw yesterday with the trade rumors with Trae Young, with McCollum, with Kispert, and they were on the finish line as opposed to whatever AD trades are out there right now. But, like AD getting pulled, getting his minutes a little bit softened because of the fact that he might get traded. It's a possibility. Like legit reporters, Chris Haynes types have reported about AD being likely to get moved on soon. It's not a spot for me that I feel great about him being in 2/3 of lineups, but I have to imagine when Stokastic updates, it'll change a little bit. But right now, the field's expected to go nuts on AD at 9,300. Cooper Flag fields at 45%. I'm getting 31. Like I talked about, I think a low pace, weak defense spot seems to be Cooper Flag's bag right now. But certainly at 7,500, doesn't really matter what the matchup is. He's a great pivot to AD, and the team total is really good, and they're facing Utah. So no issues with Cooper Flag here. Najee Marshall, 33% for me, 33% for the field. Brandon Williams, about half my lineups, field half their lineups. Max Christie, shooting really well, but not doing much else. But getting him in 47% of my lineups, fields at 29. Christie getting a starter level run is a good thing to see for him because he needs to be out there an incredible amount of minutes to do anything. Daniel Gafford fields at 31%. I'm getting 22, though my projection is about 2.5 fantasy points lower. Klay Thompson is a value we talked about. Nembhard too far down the rotation now. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's your starters plus, I guess really any your key rotational guys is a better way to say that. But for Dallas, they're playing Utah, and these guys can have a ceiling. It's a lot of ownership, though, because we have talked about the entire slate. There really aren't good plays in the slate. So Dallas having a good total facing Utah, that's enough to get Mavericks everywhere. And last but not least, Utah. We got 117 implied points here. Markkanen getting a big stand. Keontae George, that is, getting a big stand on him as well. Nurkic, for some reason, has ownership despite not having a projection. I don't know why that would be. Nurkic and Bailey expected to be out. They certainly could be in, and I don't think the injury report has updated here yet, but let me refresh real fast and see. Utah's injury report still not out as the time I'm recording this video. I think Markkanen might sit. I don't know that George would in that situation. If you got Markkanen sitting but not George, Filipowski would look better. Sensabaugh would look better. Keontae George would be like an absolute jam him in everywhere play for me. Kevin Love off his rest. He was on rest for a while. He would look better too, and maybe could pick up a start here. And if you got Markkanen and George out, we're then getting closer to like the Kyle Anderson might play minutes kind of tier of things. The Isaiah Collier, the Walter Clayton tier of stuff. But we just don't know right now, so just keep that in mind. But if it does update, right now I've Markkanen and George protected really well, so you take those players off. You're talking about freeing up 87.5 fantasy points. So for my data, it's going to make all these guys look a lot better. That's the game-by-game view, guys. We're going to go to Stokastic next, see what they have for us over here. Of course, we're going to try to build 5,000 lineups. The data hub is the wrong one. We're going to have 5,000 lineups built, have them compete 10,000 times on Stokastic. You guys know the deal here. Again, we're doing the work Monday to Friday at 2 p.m., so please join along for the ride here by hitting that like button and subscribing. It really means a lot to hit that like button, even though it doesn't seem like it. It's a little act. It doesn't do a whole lot that impacts you, but it does show YouTube that people like this video, and it shows it to people like you. So that's really the goal here, to keep building this NBA channel up, because like I've talked about a lot here, there's not a lot of NBA DFS channels out there. Everybody's trying to get their bucks off of betting and prediction markets, and maybe at some point I'll do that too, but like I love NBA DFS. This is what I will do until it's no longer feasible to do it financially, mentally, whatever the case may be. So join along for that ride here Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. You'll see my data. And again, you can do whatever you want with it. Gamble as you see fit. Of course, Stokastic, 15% off. Link down below. You want to see the sim when it updates. Make sure to check it out. Promo code SPLASH, link down below. And then use that promo code SPLASH when you're signing up. And you'll get that 15% off any weekly, monthly package, cheap packages, expensive packages, all of that. And of course, join the channel, $5 to support the show here if you want to do that. You get access to the live chats on stream. Of course, normally this is just basically a video for the couple thousand people that watch after the fact. For you guys that watch live, you get to be a part of it. Give me your chats. I'm happy to reply to them as we go. But the big thing is that you get to be in here, get a Discord as well. If you want my data, join the Squirt Squad tiers down below. But I do recommend joining on desktop as opposed to iOS, because Apple will charge you extra money, or YouTube will charge you extra money to cover that Apple charges them extra money. Capitalism. Hooray. Top ROI lineup. Andrew Nembhard, and this is Stokastic data without my interference. You saw what my projections overlaid on a Stokastic sim looks like. Now you'll see what their stuff looks like. Nembhard, Najee Marshall, Cooper Flag. So we are getting some Mavs in here. Matas Buzelis, Musa Diabate, TJ McConnell, Lowry Markkanen, Jared Allen. Real balanced build here. No Anthony Davis. That's reassuring to see. But no pay-ups, really. And you're paying up for Markkanen. You're paying up for Cooper Flag relatively. But those guys are 7K and 8K. So you're just kind of really balanced. Number 2, TJ McConnell, Donovan Mitchell, Najee Marshall, Jay Huff, Musa Diabate, Keontae George, Matas Buzelis, Bam Adebayo. Still pretty balanced here. You are taking the Jay Huff value to get Donovan Mitchell in, basically. But everything else looks pretty good to me. McConnell obviously will look better if we get Nembhard out as well. Number 3, McConnell again, Kobe White, Brandon Miller, Pascal Siakam, Musa Diabate, Keontae George, Matas Buzelis, Brandon Williams. So same thing again, no Anthony Davis, but you are getting legit rotational guys / starters if you're not playing AD, and that's the trade-off on the slate. Number 4, TJ McConnell, Colin Sexton, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, Anthony Davis, Brandon Williams, Lowry Markkanen, Max Christie. So we did get AD in this one. We did get Siakam in it as well. We're taking on some, and Markkanen. We're still taking on some value with Christie, Sexton, McConnell, Brandon Williams here. But it's all guys that are legit rotational pieces. So, okay. So you play AD, you get legit rotational pieces. You don't play AD, you get legit starters. So that's, I think, the trade-off today. Number 5, TJ McConnell, Donovan Mitchell, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, Musa Diabate, Davion Mitchell. Both the D Mitchells make it. Matas Buzelis, Dante DiVincenzo. I really have no positive vibes for Davion Mitchell or Dante DiVincenzo on the slate. But, they allow you to afford Mitchell. It's all still legit rotational guys and starters. So you get it. But a lot of McConnell up top. He's in 5-year top 6. Highest ROI, guys, according to Stokastic right now. Lowry Markkanen, 20% ROI. He's barely getting played in Stokastic data, so when he does spike meaningfully, give you that either that bring back for Dallas or perhaps a leverage play against Anthony Davis. He probably wins you a lot of money. So Lowry Markkanen, I think, is a good play, assuming that he does play. Donovan Mitchell, 8% ROI for him at number 2. Keontae George at number 3. So our Utah guys that I liked a lot. They're coming up here, both of them in the top 3 for Stokastic data. TJ McConnell at number 4. Aaron Nesmith at number 5. Sexton, Buzelis, Diabate, not too far behind. Oh, I didn't favorite these, my bad. Let's favorite our top 150. Exposures across Stokastic's top 150 lineups. You're getting TJ McConnell in 55% of lineups. Fields at 26, so about a 2x stand on TJ McConnell here. Again, he's produced like a demon with Mathurin off the court. The issue is just that the minutes are not guaranteed for him to get super high. But if Nembhard's out, probably have to get 2 to 5 more from McConnell. So he would be, I think, your primary value play if that were the case. Value, we'll say. Matas Buzelis, 51% exposure here. Fields at 31. I like Buzelis, big stand on Buzelis as well. So these top 2 I support the same way as Stokastic does. Diabate, 51% exposure, Fields at 29. Pretty big stand there, 20% more than the field. Aaron Nesmith, 47% exposure, Fields at 27. Again, do think there's a little bit of risk if you get Nembhard out of that lineup today. Just losing a playmaker for a guy that does mostly shoot standstill threes is not great, but Nesmith will rebound a little bit more. We'll get a few more shots up. Maybe can create the vaguest amount with Mathurin off the court, and the minutes get more secure too. Brandon Williams, 46% exposure, Fields at 50, so slightly fading here. Slightly fading Brandon Williams, which is what my data had as well. And Anthony Davis, they're fading him too. 45% exposure, Fields 67. So even though Stokastic is giving Davis a pretty generous 51.3 projection, you are getting less than the field here. And I think it's what I said. Like, he feels to me like a half your lineups play if you're going to go there. Not just for the injury risk, not just for the gut punch you get when you see Anthony Davis goes to the locker room kind of stuff, but mostly because of the fact that, like, it's a lot of ownership for a guy where you have other pay-up options you can go to. You can build balanced lineups that look good without him. But you want to get some. I just don't think you want to get him everywhere. Highest leverage plays overall. We got McConnell, 28% more in the field. Not a surprise with what we saw. Donovan Mitchell, 26% more in the field. Big stand there that will only get bigger if Darius Garland is out. Keontae George, 23% leverage on him. He's in about 40% of lineups, Fields at 16, so a big stand there. Lowry Markkanen, 22% leverage. He is in 26% of lineups, Fields at 4, so that is a big stand on Lowry Markkanen. Got to think the Fields ownership will come up if he is active today. Musa Diabate, 51% exposure, Fields at 29. It gives you 21% leverage. And Aaron Nesmith, also over 20% leverage. Buzelis not that far behind at 19%. Positive leverage in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Your negative leverage plays, Jay Huff. They're fading Jay Huff. Jay Huff at 47% ownership. They're only giving you 18% exposure. He was in a couple of those top ROI lineups, but you are getting negative 29% leverage on him. AD, you're getting 23% less in the field. He's still in about 45% of lineups, so it's not really a fade, but you are into the field on AD. Con Knipple, negative 22% leverage. Norm Powell, negative 16% leverage. Nikola Vucevic, tied with Andrew Nembhard, negative 13% leverage here for both those guys in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Okay. I agree with some of the stuff, not all of it though, but that's probably how it should go. Let's do a hand build, guys. I know all the boys in the chat love a handy. So let's do that. And let me pull up my sheet here and resort things so I could tell you who I want to put in this lineup. Of course, my Excel sheet has now crashed, so let me save it. Nothing worse, and this is going to be a real deep cut for all of you guys that still use Excel, which I know is less and less in this Google Sheets world / a lot of you guys just use sites. I get it. The worst thing in Excel for me is when you make a change or something, and it might just because like my NFL sheet, my NBA sheet has too much data in it, but you make a change and then all of a sudden the sheet just makes white spots on it and then I can't read it. It's one of my least favorite things in the world, and that's what just happened. But I got it fixed now. All right. Point guard for me. They're going to be Keontae George. Don't mind LaMelo Ball. Don't mind Brandon Williams, the value. He might still make it in. But Keontae George is my guy. I've played him a lot to good success this year. Really, both Utah guys. I just feel like the field doesn't play him as much as they should. But this spot here looks pretty good. Shooting guard. I have Najee a little bit higher than Max Christie. Max Christie a better value. I'm going to go Max Christie here. Not a super exciting play, but shooting guard. To me, it's either Christie, Marshall, Donovan Mitchell, based on my exposures. So I could go Sexton too, but I'll go Christie. Both guys 4,400, Sexton and Christie at shooting guard. Small forward for me. I think right now it's just jamming the plays we think will sim well. I'm going to go to Aaron Nesmith. Power forward. I'm going to go Buzelis. I don't know if we're going to fade AD in this lineup, but we're not going to have him in the first part of it here at power forward. Center, we could also play AD, but I do think my guy would be Diabate here. I have him as a 5.3x value, technically my best center value. Vucevic, I wouldn't mind either. Match versus Miami with Vucevic. Doesn't make me feel great. Him going against Bam. Let's go Diabate. This is going to leave us 6,800 left for our last 3 spots. So if we take another value guard, we'll be able to cram in some of the stars. Let's go Brandon Williams here. Very chalky. Not great player, but good enough on this slate to get in. And now I think we're going to go Cooper Flag. That leaves me 8,100 left for one more player. So we're fading AD here, but we're playing a couple Mavs to try to say that production flows Christie, Brandon Williams, Cooper Flag's way. I can't afford Lowry Markkanen if I take Flag. That sucks. I mean, a lot of people that don't play AD, I do think will go to Flag. So let's just play the lesser Mavs pieces with Markkanen and Keontae George. Now you have 7,100 left for one more spot. Powell, Nembhard, Miller, Gobert. If we want to leave money on the table, I'll go Norm Powell here. All right, so let's, I don't know if it's going to have a positive ROI. But the team is Keontae George, Max Christie, Aaron Nesmith, Matas Buzelis, Moussa Diabate. Ooh. Brandon Williams, Lowry Markkanen, Norm Powell, 101% ROI, not quite the 1,300% from the other video where they hadn't updated ownership yet. But yeah, I think part of this is because the sim has Markkanen under-owned in the data. Again, assuming that he does play today. And Keontae George, too, probably a little bit under-owned in the data. So it thinks that these guys are under-owned. As a result, them projecting well and simming well is like a surprise to the sim, kind of. But that's a really high ROI for this lineup of Keontae George, Max Christie, Aaron Nesmith, Matas Buzelis, Moussa Diabate, Brandon Williams, Lowry Markkanen, and Norm Powell is my final choice. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day, guys. Before I do that, one last ask. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. As I mentioned, it does mean a lot to me, but really the big thing is that it just helps me keep fighting the good fight against YouTube and try to keep building the channel because there is a limited ceiling to what I'm doing here unless I start covering prop bets and stuff, and I don't really want to do that this year if I can avoid it. So join down below, hit the like button, subscribe. It does mean a lot to me if you do those things. Check out Stokastic too. All the stuff I showed you here on screen. Get 15% off with that promo code SPLASH. Link is down below for that if you want to check it out, or just use the promo code SPLASH when you go over there, and you will get 15% off any weekly or monthly package there. And that's all the cheap packages, all the expensive packages, even their yearly stuff, I believe. You still get 15% off. And last but not least, join the channel here. $5 to support what we're doing here. Get into the Discord and it's a live chat. And if not, just get my data in the Squirt Squad tiers if you want. And shout out to all you guys that have been joining lately, because it's been really nice to see. So let's keep doing that if you can. All right, splash plays for the day. All right, so this is, again, assuming, like, okay, if Garland is out, Mitchell's going to be one of them. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to say the contingency stuff first. If Nembhard is out, I think McConnell, I mean, McConnell's one no matter what. I think McConnell really would be one if Nembhard was out. So that's your caveat kind of splash plays now. And if Anthony Edwards is out, Bones Highland gets a start, he would be a splash play too. So I'm going to say the conditional stuff first. But right now, the slate as it is, assuming that everybody goes, that's currently in the data set, I think it would be for me, Matas Mazelis, core splash play for me. Keontae George and Markkanen are splash plays to me. They're really low owned in the data right now, but I fully believe in these guys if they do play today, relative to what's available for Utah. And that assumes that Nurkic and Ace Bailey are out as well. Again, there's reports not available yet, so we don't know. Aaron Nesmith, a splash play for me. Moussa Diabate, a splash play for me. I think those are really the ones that I feel the best about. I'll mix and match other guys. Like you saw my exposures are, like I'll get taste of a lot of different people. But I do think for me, those are the guys I feel the best about relative to my projection, the exposure I'm getting. But I think Cooper Flagg makes sense. He's 45% owned. I don't think I'm going to be with the field on that number. AD, again, I'll be under that number no matter what, if it hangs at 66%. So that's sort of what the slate looks like. You'll still get those guys though. It's a 4-gamer, so you can't be too choosy on this slate, but gamble responsibly, guys. Again, it's really important in NBA. It can be a tough process sometimes, especially if you're not playing with good process. So make sure you are doing that. But gamble responsibly, even though I am showing you a dollar bill with my face on it, and it is always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Bets on YouTube, at Splash Play Pod on Twitter. No other streams for me today, but I will be back tomorrow for the NBA. Back tomorrow as well for the wild card weekend. We'll be doing the Saturday and Sunday slates tomorrow, including the premium video back for you guys that are members on the NFL channel. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys again soon. So enjoy your days. Good luck. Pay attention to injuries as you always have to do in the NBA. I'll see you guys again soon. I said it already, but good luck. Bye-bye.